Andrei?" The mage made no response to Jander's soft-voiced call. Jander moved hesitantly into the room, closing the door behind himself. He crossed over to where Andrei knelt and slowly dropped to his knees in front of him. Only then did the other man look at him. Andrei looked unsurprised to see him. It startled Jander to see the depth of the turmoil in the other man's eyes. "Are you well, Andrei?" he asked softly. Andrei shook his head, looking lost. "The magic refuses to guide me in this. Maybe it wants you to make your own decision." If anything, Andrei looked even more stricken. "I can't. Jander, if I were to take you on as my apprentice, and if I were to lose you to the dark as I did Kirin, it would destroy me. I'm not going to turn to the shadow paths." Jander's voice was firm. He understood Andrei's fear, but he knew his own heart well enough to know that the dark magic held no allure for him. Power for the sake of power didn't interest him. What he wanted was the trust and the confidence of those who cared about him and those for whom he dared care about in return. He wanted to make a difference with the life he'd been given and prove that he was everything his mother had always said she saw in him, that he was more than his father and the narrow-minded carrion-eaters of his village had spent so many years telling him he was. What he wanted was the life of service Andrei had tried so hard to scare him away by describing to him when they'd first started getting to know one another. He wanted to become a mage with all the responsibilities and wonder that entailed. He met Andrei's gaze squarely, letting his resolve shine in his eyes. "Nothing could ever persuade me to betray you or Aluin. I want to learn from you, Andrei. I want to learn how to fight at your side, to defend this city and this land. I want to be a mage, and more than that." He paused, wetting his lips nervously. "More than that, I just want to be with you." Andrei's lids turned heavy at that. His eyes were chased with an unnameable emotion. "Jander," he said. It was little more than a sigh. He shook his head sadly. "That is not possible. Not the way you wish it." "What about the way you wish it?" Jander's tone was sharp. He knew he wasn't imagining the fact that Andrei had been attracted to him and enjoyed spending time with him. Andrei shifted his gaze away. "What I want is immaterial. I have a responsibility to fulfill, to you and to Vallerin. If you have any hopes of becoming my apprentice, this cannot come between us." "But I'm not your apprentice, am I?" A lance of pain crossed the other man's eyes. "No." Jander bit back on his exasperation. "It's because of Kirin, isn't it? You just can't bring yourself to trust anyone else, not ever again. And so you'll go on and follow your duty until the day you die, and you will always, always be alone." Frustration over the sheer uselessness of that sacrifice hardened his tone. "Don't you see that that's exactly what he's hoping for? He's won, Andrei. If you give in to this, if you let this fear control you, then you're giving him exactly what he wants." This time when Andrei looked at him, his eyes were dark with low-burning anger. "He hurt you." "Yes." It was still not something he wanted to talk about, but there was no reason to deny it any longer. "He did, and maybe if I'd never met you he wouldn't have. But it was my choice, Andrei. My choice to come to you, and my choice to help Bowen and humiliate Brund in that stable. It's no one's responsibility but my own. I refuse to let you carry this burden for me." His anger surprised him, but he refused to continue hiding how he felt. Andrei stared at him in astonishment. He seemed at a loss for words when faced by such a fervent chastisement. Jander wondered if anyone had ever dared speak to him in this way before. Jander allowed his voice to soften. "I want to be with you, Andrei," he said quietly. I think that we were meant to come together like this, that I'm meant to learn from you. Maybe it's time, finally, for you to heal, to let him go at last."